Hey, Tracy, thank you so much for coming back on to my show. It's so lovely to have you here.
Thank you for having me again.
Well, we're going to talk about, I love lymph like a lot, and you know that. And I know that lymph is 90% water. Many people don't know that. But you got me coming in loving water like a close second. So that's pretty good on your part with the work that you do talking about water and hydration, because it's just a big part of who you are and your mission in life and your new book, Hydrate. So let's talk about that. Where you want to begin?
Oh gosh, well, what do the people want to know? I mean, okay, first of all, when you come on a show and you're saying, I have a new book, it's like, that sounds really boring, right? But my book, I promise, not boring. It's all about really, the reason I wrote it is because I'm the type of person that loves to color outside the lines. I want to like make everything my own, play, create. And I don't like recipes. I don't like to necessarily even have a schedule. I need to just wake up and be in flow state. And I feel like a lot of us are in a society where we have all this like regimens. And then in order to be healthy, we think, okay, now is another thing I need to add. Like I need to drink more water. I need to go to the gym. I need to take these pills. And it feels like duties, extra things. And so what I decided is I'm like, how about we write a book that helps us learn how to play again, how to enjoy life, but be healthy, but do it in a playful way that is incorporating healthy lifestyle foundations into your everyday practices. So things that you're already doing. So everyone already drinks water. Well, I hope they do.
Yeah, that's a
And
big one. Let's hope. Yeah.
yeah, some people that I've met actually don't. They drink coffee and say that, there's water in the coffee, but most people drink water. So that's one of the foundations. And I have these 9 pillars of health. And we think, okay, so hydration is one of the pillars and everyone's drinking water, but what kind of water are they drinking? Is it living water? Is it coherent water? Is it incoherent? Is it dissonant? And these are questions that people might go, what is she talking about? Not all liquid substances that are clear, that you pour from the faucet. What is that? What is water? And so I help people understand how to actually get hydrated from the water we're drinking and how not all water is the same. The physics of the water, the bioenergetics of the water, the information in the water, the frequency profile of the water, these all matter in order for us to thrive. Our bodies are 99% water. And if we're that much water, I get this question, why are we not a puddle of water on the floor?
Right. Yeah.
Right. And that's because we're a crystalline structure. Our body is taking these H2O molecules, maybe that are incoherent, and our cells are so intelligent, brings it in and starts to structure it, bring it into coherence, making these beautiful crystalline structures, which become us. So we're literally like almost like a walking crystal in a way. I mean, if you think about it, way more magnificent, but it's how people can kind of understand it is like a crystal is sending and receiving information all of the time. So how do you optimize the body of water that we are, the crystalline structure that we are? Well, the way that we do that is by drinking water that's coherent, that's mineralized. And I always like to look back at nature. What does nature do? Nature is vortexing water. It's always moving. If you look at a body of water, it's just sitting there, still and stagnant. You know what happens. What is that? What happens, Dr. Perry? Because it's the same thing with the lymph system. What happens when it doesn't move?
Yeah, nothing good. I can tell you that.
Yeah, it's like
Yeah.
bacteria,
Disease.
pathogens, disease. And so we don't want to have water that's just still and stagnant. We want it to be flowing, moving, vortexing. And as it's moving, depending on what area it's coming through in the earth, or from whether it's coming from the sky or the earth, wherever it's coming from, it's vortexing, it's spinning. picking up minerals along the way, along the rock formations and the earth. And so it's mineralized, it's aerated, it's liberated hydrogen and oxygen, and it's alive. And that vortexing is something that we don't quite understand yet. It's beyond our scope of true understanding. But what we're learning is that it's almost like scalar energy, where it's deleting, it can delete information. Like this vortex is deleting negative information and drawing in the nutrition and the good living frequencies that need to be in the water. I spoke with Gary Greenfield, Ben Greenfield's dad, a couple of years ago, and he had taken one of his vortexers and took wastewater and vortexed it for 2 weeks. And after the 2 weeks, the water was purified. And I asked him, how is this possible? He's not chemically filtering the water, he's just changing the physics of the water. But it purified the water. So
wow, that's amazing.
Yeah, there's something really, really, really powerful to it that I don't even want to try to explain, because it's something that we can't quite comprehend yet, but God knows, divine knows. There's a reason why this is happening in nature. So I always like to look to nature. We want water that's moving, vortexing, mineralized, aerated, water that is pure also. So when someone tells you, oh, here's a glass of water, and then we usually ask at a restaurant, is this purified? Well, that's only a small portion of what we need to be asking, because there's so many more questions. And I go through that in the book and Hydrate, and really talk about how you get to choose your water, if you want, how to choose living water. And if you have incoherent water, like filtered, reverse osmosis, distilled water, how to bring that water back to life, because that water's been broken down by the filtration system. And we want to bring it back to life. And we can do that by mineralizing it and vortexing it. So I explain how to do it. But the book is also just, it's really fun because it's talking about the 9 pillars of health. So
can we go over those? I love those pillars. They're so great.
So these pillars are hydration, minerals, nutrition, sunlight, grounding, sleep, movement, creative playtime, and connected community. And I've owned a wellness clinic, a functional medicine clinic, and spa and luxury retreat for the last 17 years. And we have some amazing protocols there, so much biohacking going on, toys, all the things. And it was really crazy because one day I woke up and I realized, oh my gosh, these people so many people are trying so hard to be healthy, but most people have not been taught the basic foundations for health. And that's why they're not thriving. You don't need to be rich. You don't need to have all the biohacking tools. You don't need to have the best coaches in order to be healthy. Just go back to nature and really focus on these foundations. If you're not hydrating, you're not going to thrive. If you're not getting the right amount of minerals and in the right ratios as well, then you're not going to be healthy. If you're not getting the right nutrition, you won't be healthy. If you're not getting the sunlight, full spectrum sun, your body can't thrive. The reason we eat plants is because those plants have the photonic energy inside of them. The cells are structured, and they're structured. The sun is what helps bring that structure, that life, and that photonic energies in there. And we need that in order for our bodies to thrive. And then, I think of our bodies as like we're bioelectric beings. We need to be charged up. This crystalline structure that we're using to connect right now, this computer, it's not going to stay charged unless I plug it in and get those electrons. Our bodies are bioelectric. They need to be charged and plugged in. So how do we tap in and plug in? We take our shoes off and connect to the earth. We connect our hands. Like that's why digging in the dirt, gardening, it helps you come alive because you're touching the earth. walking on the beach barefoot, there's this ionic exchange of minerals coming into the bottom of your feet, and your toxins coming out, and you're being charged by the earth's energy and the frequencies. The Schumann resonance is really bringing our body into coherence. It's bringing us alive. And if we don't choose to take this opportunity to access the earth's free electrons and the grounding, then we're not going to be charged up. We're going to be tired. Bodies are going to be sick. And then sleep. It's so funny because many of my patients, very wealthy patients, and, they're trying to hack their health, right? Like, I've got all these tools, all these biohacking things, and I don't need to sleep. I'll sleep 4 hours a night and it's fine. I can catch up on the weekend. No, that's not, you're not going to thrive. It's like, if you're missing that foundation, it will catch up to you and you eventually will not be healthy. And then movement. This is something that you teach, that you are so incredible. You're incredibly genius at, is how we move, right? Like, you always say, I love your term. It's like, people ask you how to move and you're like, just do it. It's not like, just do it. Just move your body, roll around on the floor, like move your fingers. I mean, how often do you like bend your fingers and move different joints in your body? We are like moving the same things almost every day, just walking forward. How about you walk backwards, walk to the side, jump up and down, skip. And then this is where the creative playtime comes in, because it's like, if you just start to get into your body and move a little bit and play, you're going to start to move different parts that maybe you haven't before. And our physical manifestation is a gateway to our spiritual and emotional being. And there's a lot of trapped emotions in our body. And when we start to move different parts of our body, those trapped emotions can be liberated. And that is really healing medicine right there. And then connected community, I had to put that in there because we can't thrive alone. We can't do this life alone. I can't do this without you. This is the true medicine, is the loving connection where we support each other. We ask each other the hard questions. You and I have had these conversations where we talk about the hard things. We support each other, and we can't do it alone. And, in this world, this society right now, a lot of things are virtual. People are working at home, they're working virtually, but we need hugs. We need that heart resonance. We need to touch skin to skin. We need to look in each other's eyes, eye gazing. It's essential. And if we don't have this, we're not going to thrive. Mother Teresa said once that we think the greatest poverty is to be hungry or thirsty or naked, but the true poverty is to be alone, unwanted, untouched, and unseen. That's the true poverty. So if we want to thrive, we need to be connected. So
Wow,
those
that was
are the
beautiful.
9 pillars.
Yeah. Well, I mean, those are some spectacular pillars, honestly. And I'm just curious, when you owned all those different clinics and stuff over the years, and people are coming in and they're usually taking so many different things and trying different things. How many did you like do a little checklist on those pillars with people? Is that how this started to kind of evolve for you? And
Yeah,
I'm
so
curious how many people were doing any of those.
most people were missing a lot of them. And that's why I wrote this book, because it seems foundational. It seems like everyone would be doing this. And what I found out is that most people weren't. No. They were spending money on their vitamins instead. And like, okay, I need to get this vitamin and this like perfect, what's the coffee that everyone was doing? For bulletproof coffee.
The bulletproof, or I had a coffee enema, right? All that.
Yeah, like hacking, right? I need to hack everything. I've got to have these tools and these gadgets. And okay, those are fun. I have them myself. I love them. I play with them. I enjoy them. But if I do not have the foundations right, then none of those things are going to work for me. And I love this because all of these things are really abundant in nature. And so what this means is that it's not exclusive to the rich. It's not exclusive to the people that have access. Health is a foundational right for every single human being. And all of us, most of us do have access to all of these things. Unfortunately, some people don't have access to clean water, and we're working on that now. My team and teams all around the world, we all know that this is important, and many people are trying to help with that. But most of us do in the United States have access to these things. And so I just wanted to bring back the importance of it. And then the book is really just like, you can open it up. It's like a coffee table book. So you can open it up and get inspiration at any page, a quote or a recipe, or, how to throw a party. I throw parties that are just like so much fun, all about like jumping on trampolines and all of the crazy things that make life exciting that sometimes we forget about.
Yeah. Oh, I love that. And we'll have to cycle back because a little bit later, make sure I don't forget. I want to talk about your mission to bring clean water out to the world. I think that's fantastic. And here, what I want to cycle back to is this. When I started to look more into energetic medicine, right? Looking at biofrequencies, bioresonance. You and I have a biocharger at home, and I use different things. And one of the things that I found quite interesting, and when I started to look at energy medicine, and I also learned it when I studied muscle testing, testing muscles of the body to see we read on the body, that if you were dehydrated, your muscle testing wouldn't work, or you'd always test weak, or call it inhibited. Or if you're doing therapy to try to put a charge into the body, if you're dehydrated, it wouldn't work. I mean, that's kind of a big deal. That right there tells you the foundation of energy has got to be hydration.
Absolutely. You're so right. We are bioelectrical beings. So if we're not charged, if our electrical unit isn't charged, then our cells do not have the ability to communicate with each other effectively. And if the cells aren't communicating, how can we do this bioresonance testing? It's going to be off because the cells aren't able to communicate. My cells can't communicate with your cells. Like we talked about earlier, we are crystalline structure. So this body of water that I am is a crystalline structure that's communicating with your body of water. And so when you're doing biofeedback or any type of applied kinesiology, these two units, our two units, need to be electrically charged in order to communicate effectively.
Yeah. And so I just found it like, if you're not hydrated, I can't imagine, and I see it today, that even if you're doing all these great therapies that can be beneficial for you, they don't work, or they don't last long. And that was a mind blower for me, because one of the biggest missions I've been on in my career is why, when we do stuff for people, everything keeps coming back all the damn time and stuff doesn't stick. There's got to be some underlying reason.
Yeah.
Right. And I
Right.
never thought about hydration, I'll be honest with you.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's so crazy how intimately connected to lymph hydration is. I mean, we can't have one without the other. And it's the fluid in our body, the lymphatic fluid, is so important. And if it's sluggish, tired, not moving, then we're not going to be healthy. And so we need to get that flowing. We need more hydration in and out of the cell. Those cells, that osmotic balance between your intracellular and your extracellular fluid needs to be in balance so that you can effectively detoxify. Your cells know how to detoxify, but they're not able to do it if it's sluggish. They can't do it as well. And a lot of times our cells can get kind of locked where nutrition's not able to get in effectively and the toxins aren't able to get out as well either. And that's where we have this opportunity to really focus on the hydration, and the hydration is going to help that lymph. You can try to move lymph all day long, but if you're dehydrated, it's going to be sticky and sluggish.
Right. And I know you answer this question like a billion times, but it's always new to somebody who doesn't know it yet and heard it yet. I have a lot of people that they drink tons of water all day long, but I still find that they're ended up being dehydrated. Do you find that a matter of probably the quality of the water and their ability to absorb crappy water? I mean, because I would imagine if you have it vortexed, it's going to be absorbed into the body more efficiently. Am I correct?
Yes. So if you're getting that mineral balance and enough water, then yeah. So here's the thing. A lot of people are drinking, say, a gallon of water a day, but they're still
Right.
dehydrated and making themselves even more dehydrated because they're drinking more water and flushing out their mineral reserves. We need to have minerals in our system in order for this crystalline structure to be built. Otherwise, we're just flushing stuff out and we're just peeing out and sweating out and like eliminating. That's not what we want. We want to have cellular, intracellular hydration, not just water in our extracellular fluid. And so it's not about how much water you're drinking. It's about the quality of the water that you're drinking, and the quality is essential. So what is quality water? That's probably going to be the next question. I go into detail in it in the book, but I like to just make it really simple for people because it's not simple, but it can be. If you buy your water at the store, just look on the back of the label. Where is your water coming from? Is it coming from a natural source that the earth made, that God made? Or is it coming from a municipal source that we have adulterated and broken down and contaminated? So on the back of your bottle, it has to tell you this is filtered water or this is from a natural source. And it will tell you from where. And then when you drink the water, just take a moment to feel it. Is your body resonating with it? Does it like it? A lot of people tell me they don't like water and water's boring. But when you drink the right water, you love it. I have yet to meet a person who's been to a living spring and harvested water fresh, opened their mouth in a living spring and said, I didn't like that. Nobody, not one person, because that's living water.
Yeah.
Everything that our body resonates with and is in love with. So if you're drinking the right water, you're going to enjoy it. If you're drinking filtered water, chances are your body's probably not going to resonate with it. And it's like, oh, this is boring. It doesn't taste good. And it's incoherent. It's dissonant. It's probably flushing out all, your minerals and making you even more dehydrated. There's some waters that I really, truly believe dehydrate you more than hydrate you.
You go through some of those in your book or no?
Yeah, I talk about more detail about this.
Okay.
And then for people that don't want to buy their water and they want to just mimic nature at home, that's what I do. I mean, I buy water and I also mimic nature at home by filtering my water. But when I filter it, I'm breaking it down, right? So now I get the opportunity to build it back up. So I filtered my water, but then I add minerals to the water, and then I vortex it like nature would. So now we have the structure of the water and its coherence, and then we have the minerals in the water and the purification of the water, and it's just it can get so much fun. You can put the water in the sunlight to charge it from the sun's frequencies and get that full spectrum light into the water to activate it. Once it's activated, you can put it in the refrigerator in a cold, dark space. So it can start to, that structure can come back into form. And the water is making all types of different structures, which is so beautiful. And Masaru Emoto is one of the people that we in mainstream can look to, who showed us in our culture, like, hey, water isn't just water. You take a water droplet and it can form many different types of crystalline structures. Now, Emoto's work is very interesting because it was thrown out by most scientists because he cherry-picked his data. So we will say that's not scientific because it's not something we can replicate. But I love his work because he brought awareness to the fact that not all water is the same. And the way we speak over the water is changing the structure of it. It's influencing it. And that's what got me so excited, because it empowered me beyond anything else, was realizing if I'm a water body every word I'm saying is imprinting my water body. Every
yeah.
thought I'm thinking is imprinting it. And I get the opportunity to choose if I want to be a beautiful crystalline structure that's healthy and coherent, or I can choose thoughts and words that are dissonant and not loving and not kind. And that's not only hurting the person or the things that I'm talking about, it's hurting me. So we get the opportunity to choose our thoughts, our words, our environment, even the music we listen to, the things we watch on TV, the friends we choose. These are impacting our health significantly.
Mm. I love that. That's very beautiful. The way you phrased that about, how you. I was thinking that of how you talk to yourself is going to have its own resonant frequency to you, and your whole body, the cells and the water, they're going to pick up on that, right? And that is just, it's so empowering though too to know that.
Yeah, it is. I think that realization was one of the most impactful things that changed my life in,
Mm.
in taking inventory of the thoughts I was thinking and the words I was saying. You can be very negative about things like, oh, this didn't work out, or I don't like that. But then we can choose to see the beauty, right? I'm not talking about toxic positivity here. I'm talking about in every situation, there really is beauty. And if I want to feel good, I get to find the good.
Mm.
And so even in the obstacles, there is always opportunity. And if we're looking for the opportunity, we're going to find it. If we're looking for the obstacles, we're going to see more of those.
Yeah.
So it's really like it becomes a fun, exciting adventure every day when you go, okay, gosh, I can't find my keys. I'm running late for this appointment. You can really get frustrated, but then, or you can look at the opportunity of, hey, there's a reason why this happened. And I'm going to get there when I'm meant to get there. And everything is in divine timing. And there's some things that I can't control. Yes, I can learn from this and be better about putting my keys in the same spot. There's the opportunity there too, right? To
Yeah.
be organized, but also the opportunity to look at that really everything is unfolding exactly the way it should and it's supposed to. And I get to be here in this moment, present for it. And there's nothing more beautiful than that, to be present. Because we're often thinking about what's next, right? When I get to that appointment, when I go to this thing, when I get home, make the food, when I get into bed tonight, it's always next, then I'll be happy. And the happy is right now. This moment, this conversation that we're having, we get to have this conversation. We get to do this.
Yeah, that's one of the biggest things that I had to work on in my life is that I didn't so much live in the past. I would always live in the next moment, and I really wasn't in the moment right now. And that's the life changer. And I actually started to do that with the water too. Because so many people when they drink water, it's like slam it down. It's kind of an afterthought. I started to drink water like I'm sipping wine, just like putting it in there, just feeling it, tasting it, having just a little bit of time. And I swear to God, it's almost like I had this like moment with the water, if you will. It was like I was in nature when I did that.
I love that. I love to hear that. And it's like, it's not just the chemistry of your body being nourished with the hydration of the water, but it's all of the frequency patterns in the water and how your mind is that antenna that's tuning that water to its coherent perfection. Water is very easily influenced. And so, it's like a conversation that we're having with the water. The water is influencing us and we're influencing it. But if we're at this really high vibrating frequency, the higher frequencies are going to always impact the lower. And the lower can't reach the higher. So if we keep ourselves in a higher vibrational state, then those lower vibrating frequencies won't hurt us. We're going to be influencing them. They're going to be changing to our higher vibe state. So we get to choose. And that's, I just keep going back to it. It's a choice. Every moment is a choice. And yes, I'm human. I get into moments where it's like, oh my gosh, I'm stressed out. But the more I practice it, the more I'm able to get myself back into a state of really coherence and joy.
Yeah, I love that. I'm curious for you, and when you started to go on the journey of looking at the water and learning about the water, what sort of changes did you experience in your life in relationship to maybe you had some change in your health or symptoms or parts that you began to really notice some changes?
Yeah, that's a great question. I noticed huge changes. So, um, when I was a child, I can remember back to being really young and feeling very tired and lethargic. And I wouldn't even eat sugar when I was a little kid because it made me feel sick. I was very,
Mm.
very sensitive. And one of my best childhood friends told me recently, she's like, you've always loved water. I remember when we were little kids, you opening up the tap. I mean, I was drinking tap water and it's like drinking it down and going, oh, I love it so much. It's like always been a thing. But it was because I didn't feel well as a child. And I grew up in a little town where they crop dusted over us all the time.
Oh,
So
wow.
I was being flooded with glyphosate and Agent Orange and all of the toxic chemicals. And I really believe my liver took beating from that. And it wasn't until I was in college that it really started to hit. I started college when I was 15 and I was under a lot of stress being in pre-med, traveling around the world. I had businesses I was running and there's just a lot going on and my body started to shut down. I started to have these severe migraines where I would pass out and just randomly pass out. I was having acne, constipation, exhaustion, it was like I wasn't thriving. And I felt like a prisoner in my body. I would look around and see people just energetic and going, and I'm like, how come I can't be this person? And I would try so hard. I was the gal, eating out of the garden and drinking the water and doing the kale juices and anything I could to be healthy, but it wasn't working for me.
Mm.
And when I got pregnant, it revealed itself even more, this condition that I was in, because I didn't have amniotic fluid and my stomach was just flat. I mean, if you look at photos of me at 8 months pregnant, it was like there was no stomach. And we had to deliver my baby at 35 weeks because she was in like 2 centimeters of amniotic fluid. Well, come to find out, it was because I had a severe mineral imbalance and I was drinking over a gallon of water a day, but I couldn't quench my thirst.
Mm.
And my eyelids were stuck to my eyeballs when I'd wake up in the morning, literally stuck. I had to get water to unpeel them. My tongue would be stuck to the roof of my mouth. My mouth was so dry. It was what I imagine, like if you're crawling through a desert without water for, a couple days, it was like, wake up like that. And I went to so many different doctors and no one could figure out what was going on. Well, finally, I discovered when I would drink living spring water, I felt more hydrated. And when I would drink filtered water, I felt more dehydrated, like thirstier. So I realized in that moment, oh my gosh, all water is not the same. Just because it's clean doesn't mean it's hydrating me.
That's like a big
Yeah,
moment
it
right
was
there.
like huge moment. And I started drinking a lot of nutritive teas that like nettle and horsetail and teas that had a lot of minerals in them. And it was starting to nourish me back to health. And my symptoms of postpartum depression and dehydration started to slowly go away. And that sent me down a path where I went back to herbal school, went back into a PhD program to learn about the body from a different perspective, because I realized that there's something to this water and hydration, that a bigger part of the story that I had not been told. And I realized I don't want other people to suffer the way I've suffered for like something that could easily be fixed. It's not a complex problem. And I really believe a lot of disease, we know that all disease has inflammation connected to it, and all dehydration is connected to inflammation. So if we're a body of water, if we're 99% water, then wouldn't you think we want to start looking at the hydration and the water to prevent disease or even reverse disease and aging? So when I tell people I'm a water scientist, the first thing they do is kind of turn their head like, how can I get out of this conversation? This is like really boring.
I think that's a fantastic line, honestly. You know, I mean, as soon as you said that, I'm like, that's gold, because, you know, people ask me all the time, what do you do? And I don't have something that cool, because I would stick around and listen to it. If you said that, that's so cool. Water scientist.
Yeah,
Love
no,
that.
you're like a nerd like me and you love that, but most people don't. They're like, how can I get out of this conversation quick as possible? But then when I say that my research is around intelligent hydration and how to age better, then they want to know. And not only do they want to know, they want to be my best friend. They're like, if you
Well,
can
if you
help
throw
me
that
age
age
better,
thing in there, bam, that's the hook right there.
that's the
Yeah.
hook right there. You know, everyone wants to age well. They want to look good and feel good and have those juicy joints and the hydrated skin, that glow. Well, it comes from being hydrated. It's not as simple as just drink more water, drink more water. That's only a very small part of the story.
Can I
So
ask you a question?
yeah.
When you do the things that you're talking about for the water, you know, like your vortexing and you know, doing things to structure it, um, do you still need at that standpoint to add things in there like electrolytes or you know, cell salts, things like that? Or does that change when you do the thing to the water, or is it still good to do? You follow what I'm trying to
Yeah, I understand
ask?
what you're saying. So it's really good to have minerals in the water before you vortex the water, because you're turning it into something that can be so water has memory, and water's consistently making different structures. And if you have a nice set of minerals in there and you vortex it, then you have a better opportunity to make a more coherent structured water with, you know, a coherent frequency profile. If you have water that's dissonant and doesn't and lacks minerals and you try to put it through the vortex, it's harder for that water to hold that information and that memory without the minerals in it. It won't, you know, last as long. So it's important to put the minerals first and then vortex the water.
Okay, gotcha. All right, that's
And
perfect.
and nature does that itself. So if you're buying spring water, you know, I've been drinking this Holstein water, love it. It's like it's from Austria. They dug down 700 meters to find this water, and like the profile of it is just beautiful. And there was a study done by one of my dear friends in Germany, Kirsten Duschlander. She had, I think it was 150 patients. Don't quote me on that, but I think it was 150, where they tested them drinking Holstein water as opposed to just whatever other water they were drinking. And every single one of them, all of their oxidative stress diminished and their antioxidants increased in their body just from water. And it's not just water, but a lot of people think of it that way. So yeah, changing their water impacted the inflammation in their body, oxidative stress in their body.
Does it matter what type of container you keep your water in?
Yes, absolutely. My friend Veda, she just did a study, and she showed in a plastic container this. I think she took spring water, put it in a plastic container, a glass container, and then a blue glass container. In the plastic container, the water became very incoherent. In the clear glass, it started to lose structure and degrade. And in the blue glass, it maintained its structure and its coherence. So I think that it definitely does matter, the container, because I mean, water is the greatest solvent on the planet too, right? So if it's in plastic, it's going to be absorbing and taking on whatever environment the water's in. And plastics, whether it's BPA free, whatever, it's still plastic. And, you know, it's not great for the environment. It's not great for our bodies. A lot of xenoestrogens, those long chain estrogens that are in our bodies that mimic our natural cycles, and we don't want that. Like, so if we have the opportunity to not have it, then I prefer that we don't. So yes, that's a wonderful question. The vessel is an important piece.
Do you keep your water in a certain container for yourself?
Yeah, actually, so I keep mine in glass. For a while, I was using Myron glass. I had this beautiful Myron glass bottle that really only let the spectra of purple light frequencies in. But it broke, so I need to get a new one. But I love that one. It was great. And but now I use the glass containers because I'm just drinking it so fast, and then I'm filtering, mineralizing, and vortexing as I go. So it's not something I have to worry about it staying intact for too long because I'm drinking it, within a couple of hours.
So what do you do when you travel then? Because I know you travel so much. How do you get your water that way? You have some special magic voodoo thing you travel with?
Yeah, exactly. No, so I used to travel with my water. I have this huge trunk that I would travel with, and it was just like I would have to sacrifice my clothing and hair products and all those things and just like have a tiny bit of
greater good, right?
All for my water, yeah, for the greater good. But one day I was like, this is too much. It's like, it's not sustainable. I travel so much. I'm in other countries. It was becoming a lot. And people just get annoyed too. They're like, what the heck? Like, are you serious?
Yeah.
So, you got to choose your battle. So what I decided to do was, I'll be in the airport, pick the best water I can. If I'm at the airport, I'll look for spring water. And then I have a Mia travel vortexing device that you literally, it's just this gold piece that you screw one water bottle to the top and another water bottle to the bottom. And then the Mia gold vortexers in the center. And then you just spin it in the right spin, and it creates this vortex and makes the water coherent. And the cool thing is that I will take it different places and have people try it, and every single person's like, oh my gosh, this is amazing.
It tastes different, right?
Well, not only does it taste different, yes, it tastes wonderful, but people consistently across the board will say, I don't need to drink as much water. I'm more hydrated. So when you're getting that water that has that profile and that the physics is correct, that it can get into the cell more effectively, then you're going to have that intracellular hydration, and it's not just water that's being flushed out of your body. See, what happens is a lot of incoherent water is these, like, we think of water as these H2O molecules just bouncing all around. Well, they start to create structures. They form these molecules, like connect to each other, like holding hands and becoming friends. And if it's a incoherent water, they're just going to make these incoherent structures. But we want to have this crystalline structure where all the angles are just perfectly coherent. And if that's the case, then that water is going to be hydrating and take less work for our body, because what our body's doing, Gerald Pollack at the University of Washington discovered that there's 4 phases to water. There's liquid, vapor, solid, and then a gel-like structure. And what our body is doing, every hydrophilic surface in our body is taking water and converting that H2O into what he would say H3O2. And these coherent structures are able to hydrate us more effectively. Now, your body's already going to do that. It's going to take water and make these structures, but it takes energy. It takes work to do this. So this would be a water molecule that you look at, and then you see this H3O2, where they're starting to connect and make these almost like hexagonal structures. Now, the water is making all different types of structures, but Jerry will say that it's hexagonal, but we're learning that there's many different structures the water's making depending on the frequency profile. And one of my mentors, Rumiana at the University of Kobe in Japan, is studying aquaphotomics. Brilliant woman, double PhD, just an amazing human, but she studies water, and she's studying the frequency profiles of water, the spectra of water. And it's just like the more that you learn about it, the more it just blows your mind. I literally just got back from Japan a couple weeks ago, spending time with her at her lab and just learning so much from her. And I feel so humbled coming back and realizing the more I learned about water, the more I realized there's so much opportunity because there's so much more to learn. And it is just such a fascinating subject. And I can't wait to learn more. And I love sharing about it.
Well, that definitely comes across, and I love that you're sharing it with us. And I have one more question before we cycle into, if we have some time, um, about your travel to help bring water. Does it matter with the temperature of water, like whether it's room temperature or it's cold? Because here's what I found quite fascinating. When I traveled outside of the United States, everybody drank their water room temperature. In the US, we're the ones that freeze it all the damn time and drink it with ice.
Um, I'm not 100% sure. I think for everyone it's different, but what I do know is that if you heat the water, like when I have boiling water, it's changing the structure of the water, that now all of those molecules are moving faster and everything's kind of like in this chaotic state. And so hot water is going to be different. But you drink it, and if it has a strong enough frequency profile and it's coherent enough, what we're learning is that it should go back. It has memory. So once it cools down, it should go back to that state then. And like I said, our body is constantly in a state of, I don't know if I actually finished that thought, but our body is structuring the water. You're going to take incoherent water and your body will structure it, but it takes energy. So that energy that your body is utilizing to structure the water could be using for other things, like working out at the gym and building muscles or having beautiful hair or skin. So if we take away that burden from the body to have to structure the water, then we're doing ourselves a great good here. You know, people that are sick, that have cancer, they need that energy for healing. So drink some coherent water so that your body doesn't have to worry about that conversion. So that's why I like spring water, vortex water. It's like the body doesn't have to do that conversion in order to make our crystalline cells, the biogenesis, all the new things that are being built in our body. It's so much easier and less work and less burden on the body.
Yeah, that makes sense. So many people are low on energy all the way around, just from life crushing them down. And then if I think about my question logically, I'd say, well, you probably got to make sure what kind of ice you're putting in your water, because maybe you got great water and your ice is shit, you know, like that could be it. So I guess you got to cover both bases. But tell me a little bit about your ventures that you're doing, why you went to Japan and other different places, how you're trying to make a difference in the world there. I love that.
Yeah, so right now I'm working on a clean water project in Nicaragua and also Costa Rica. And there's so many places. I just went on a vision tour a month and a half ago. I spent 10 days there and just looking at different areas where there is no running water, no clean water, and very dense populations. And it's devastating to see. So I'm taking a team back to Nicaragua, August 7th through 14th. And we're going to be working on a project to bring clean water to a little village in Nicaragua. But we're doing something different other than just building wells. Building wells is amazing, and I'm so grateful for people that do that. But there's other ways also that we can help people get clean water. And it just depends on where they're at, you know, because we can do rain encashment. There's a lot of different ways to get clean water to people. So we work with their area to see what's the best way to bring water to these people. So if anybody wants to get involved with that project, it's an ongoing project, but we're going to be doing a visit August 7th through 14th. And I was in Japan. I just got back from Japan. That was because I was at the University of Kobe visiting the lab, the aquaphotomics lab there, and learning about water mapping, about how there's all different types of frequencies in water and what makes water coherent or incoherent, and just testing my different vortex devices and different things to see what works, what doesn't, what's coherent, what isn't, to understand it better, because anybody can tell you, oh, this vortex is going to make this do that, or, people can believe things, but the water looks the same, right? So it's like, does this work? Does it not? So I wanted to, I'm like all about understanding it at different levels. So
Yeah.
I wanted to learn more about aquaphotomics and the different frequency profile in water and how you map it out and look at it to see if it's coherent or not. And so I'm going to be learning more about that, we're going to be starting a lab here, hopefully soon in the US. That's the hope. And so with it, we can have more standardization of if water's coherent or not coherent, so people can see in a map how this looks, as opposed to just being told, yes, it is, no, it's not. I mean, we want to know why and how.
Yeah. So what's the name of that place in Japan? Because I think that's like a superhero Marvel comics word, like adamantium.
Yeah,
Aquatomics.
aqua photomics with an M. Aqua
Oh,
photomics. Yeah,
that's like the coolest word I've heard in a long time.
it's a pretty cool word. Yeah, and the woman
Yeah.
that coined the term is even cooler. Man, I met her and I was like blown away. She's from Bulgaria. My daughter's 16 and she spent time in the lab too. And we were all there meeting with her. And she's like, Mama, that lady is the true original boss lady. She's awesome.
That's
So yeah.
fantastic.
Mhm.
Wonderful. Setting a nice bar there for your daughter too. So, well, where can people purchase the book? How can they get a hold of Hydrate?
Yeah, so thank you for asking. Hasn't launched yet on Amazon or Barnes and Noble, so it's privately on my website at tracydews.com right now until Mother's Day. It's going to fully launch, but right now people can pre-order it and get it on my website, and all the pre-orders get a signed copy. And so that's at tracydews.com, TracyDuhs.com.
Awesome. Well, we'll definitely put a link in the show notes, and everyone with this show, make sure you go back and listen to my prior podcast episode with Tracy. You can get a double win right there. Listen to them back to back as well. So thank you so much, Tracy, for coming on. It was always such a wonderful time to speak with you.
You too. Thank you so much for giving me the opportunity.
You got it. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in. This is Dr. Perry. We'll see you soon on the other side.